Here in Luxembourg we have many reminders of the past. Some are famous, like Fort Thüngen, which we looked at 2 episodes ago. Others are less well known and very hard to spot if you don't know where to search for them. And today we are going to take a look at one of those sites, a tumulus. Like most tumuli, this one is really hard to see if you don't know where it is, but unlike most tumuli, it's not prehistoric, it's much younger, it's Roman. Today we are headed for Helperknapp to take a look at Tumulus Bill, and we are meeting our friend historian Marc Schoellen to get some answers. My name is Thomas, this is Stones and Bones. Let's get digging. So today we are meeting Marc Schoellen again. Marc, our favorite historian, you are now an expert on tumuli.
I'm not an expert, I'm not a specialist in this field, but I'm an amateur. So an amateur, but I'm very interested in the impact these tumuli make in a landscape. So I see them as very important features.
So anyway, we're going to dig deep today.
Yes, the first time I came across such a structure, mound, was in, or barrow as they call it sometimes, was in 1969 when a couple from Mersch, it was Weirisch they were called, both are dead but this time, and Roger Cournard decided to make a sort of excavation of a very visible structure in the forest. On the bill, as it's called, this structure. And it was very clear that they found structures, a circular structure outside, made of sandstone, quite monumental. And then finally the museum intervened and they continued the excavation. And what's extremely interesting in this case is that this thing inspired me so much because I thought there must be something very important inside. And they didn't find anything. I mean, they've just found a few, not even a lot of pottery. And finally, they found one structure which was certainly sort of an altar piece, the outer structure, yes. Yeah. And they supposed that was the place where the urn with the ashes was deposited in Roman times. So they could be dated somehow, I think in the 1st century AD, but nothing important so far. Anyhow, it was restored, and it is still a very attractive feature because you get this kind of pine forest and this almost white sand and sort of very interesting pine sand in summer. So it's an ideal picnic place. Yeah. I certainly go there every year, several times, and I would even say that is one of the most beautiful places in that whole area, because you can combine it with walk up to the hill, which is called Helperknapp.
And to better understand what Marc is saying, we are taking the plane again, the Optica. We are here currently over Helperknapp, heading for the Helperknapp. And the tumulus is more or less right above the cat, more or less. So right next to the right side of the plane. And we are flying up the hill, the Helperknapp, to get to the places Marc is going to talk about. But please note the view you can see quite far. The hill is, yeah, it's not extraordinarily high, but it's a bit higher than those around them. And that's it. Back to Marc.
You find a chapel, 19th century, very beautiful, but which goes back to former times, a holy well.
And a plastic sculpture of Willibrord.
Yes, well, something like...
Very plastic, yeah.
It is very ugly. It's always been ugly. It was a stone statue which was replaced now by a sort of copy in an awful kind of metal. It looks like yes. Well, it is not very attractive, and a Roman fortification
on the hill.
On the hill, and of course the place was quite famous in medieval times because it held a market. It was a marketplace, and so many things were found on this mount. I mean, it's a almost it is a redundant place. We could find so many things from different ages, and it's beautiful in landscape. So it certainly made an impression on me when I was a child.
So if I understand you correctly, we can see a lot of stone nowadays, which is the mantle of the tumulus.
Yep.
But at the time, nothing was visible. It was all underground.
Yeah, it wasn't visible at all, but you could see that it was such an eminence, and it was much higher than it is now. So they took away a lot of earth just to find this structure in stone. When they restored in the first place, they put some sort of sandstone they found in place on top of it. It was meant to be sort of symbolic pine cone put on top of it. Now, a few years ago, they restored the place, and they took it away because they thought that was, well, not the adequate sort of ornament. So we suppose there might have been something similar to what they found in Italy, for instance, but we don't know exactly. Anyhow, that is the place, and some years afterwards, my parents joined a sort of group of hobby archaeologists, the Curé Kaiser, Georges Kaiser, who made an excavation campaign every summertime. So sometimes it was a bit boring, especially for children. Sometimes it was interesting. But I remember we did one excavation at Dondelange, and that was a tumulus as well. It was so exciting because we found bones, but really bones, very rough bits and pieces. In the beginning, we thought they were human bones, but in fact, that was a tumulus which was reused in later times, I suppose, in the 19th or 20th century, just to bury dead calves and pigs and all sort of stuff. But there again, it was visible enough. It was a proper eminence, so it wasn't a secret place. Yeah.
Okay, so since the tumulus in Bill, or is it called Tumulus Bill?
Yeah.
In Helperknapp.
In Helperknapp, yeah.
Since it's a Roman tomb, are we certain it's a tumulus, or is it just an ornamental tomb?
Wait, in Bill, yeah.
Yes.
Well, good question. Sometimes you find something which is just constructed in order to remind people that these people existed. You take, for instance, that sort of monument, which is not a tumulus, at Eagle. In fact, that is not a burial place, but it's a way of advertising the family's qualities and blah, blah, blah. So it is only what they call a cenotaph in cenotaph. So it's empty, but it is in honor of these people, of that family. And in this case, the one Bill, they suppose, however, that was used for one individual or some people whose ashes were buried close to this altar, which is part of the monument.
Okay, and so to sum up, what exactly did we find inside? Nothing, or just a hollow room? Or?
Inside, they didn't find anything. No structure, no built structure, nothing. It's just a heap of sand visible from afar.
So, but we know there was something inside, or we don't know.
But we suppose that there was nothing inside because, in fact, when they made the excavation, they could see the different layers of earth, and there was nothing inside. So they couldn't trace a single structure which is built like a tomb chamber or something like that. Nothing.
Okay, so we actually don't know what it is.
No, we don't know. We know for certain that there was nothing inside, and that the burial itself was on the purge of it. But what has been found out since this time is the fact that in the forest land close to it, there are many more tumuli, smaller ones, and very recently they have been listed as monuments. So the whole area is now listed in order to protect it. So it's not a single monument, it was part of a greater sort of grouping of monuments.
Okay, so when you say in the forest surrounding it, do you mean the forest on the hill or the forest surrounding the hill?
Surrounding this single monument of the Bill, yes. And so it's 30, 40 meters the distance from this one. You'll find other structures of a similar kind, but much, much humbler, much lower. So that is the reason why they haven't been excavated so far. And there might be better chances to find something proper inside because they didn't invite these robbers who could come and steal the stuff. Yeah.
So basically there's a heap of earth with decorative sandstone around it, and we do not know if it was a tomb or if it was just cenotaph or just decorative, but we call it a tumulus.
I think the idea is that you have a visible structure. Ideally, it should be a circular structure, but there are oval structures which have been found in other countries, or sort of protracted forms. It's not always a very geometric form. If you take the example of the tomb of Augustus in Rome, that of course is a built structure, but it's circular, very geometric. That would be the ideal way of showing such a tomb. And there's many examples in Italy of circular structures, very monumental and built. They're not only covered with earth, but they are visible. They have visible walls.
Okay, so to get a better idea of what Marc is talking about and without having to pay the ticket for the flight, let's take this virtual helicopter, go to Rome, fly over the Vatican. But that's not what we are here for, so let's speed up things a bit. So we're flying down the river Tiber, and you can see it already on the other side of the river. Well, now you can see it actually, this little round thing. That's the tomb of Augustus, or the mausoleum of Augustus, and here is what the game designers of Assassin's Creed thought it looked like from the inside. But since we are not giving into speculation, we are also looking at what historians think it might have looked like. So conical shape, a bit like this, the tumulus in Nanish, which is also Roman. Right, so now you get the idea of what Bill could have looked like. Back to Marc. Yeah. Okay, Marc, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Thomas.
So that's it for today. If you liked the episode, feel free to share it and to subscribe to the channel. In the next one, we are going to meet Marc again, and we are going to take a look at another tumulus, but this one is going to be really old and really big. So if you're interested, stay tuned and I'll see you there.